One of my favorite events from last year is happening again, and you don't want to miss it. Books and Brews 2 will be held on Saturday, August 2nd, 2025, at the Wyndham Hotel in Noblesville, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. You can meet over 60 horror authors, all in one place. You can buy books on site, or you can bring what you already have, and you can get them signed while you meet the authors. Books and Brews 2 is brought to you by the incredible horror book Facebook group, Books of Horror. Get your tickets today by clicking the link in the show notes. You don't need to be afraid. It's just horror authors. Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream, or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job, or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. Welcome to Ink Blots, the show where I interview authors about their lives, writing, and the books they love. Be sure to follow the Ink Blots podcast on Substack. Not only can you listen to the latest episodes, but our Substack also has interview transcriptions and links to books and other items that we talk about on the show. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. It really helps us and our sponsors out. Oh, and leave comments. We really do read and respond to every one. Now, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to Ink Blots. I am your host, Rob Southgate. Today I have with me author Brad Ricks, another horror author, who will be at Books and Brews 2, but is not an author at Books and Brews 2. That doesn't mean you shouldn't find him, hunt him down, terrorize him a little bit there, like, hey, where's your booth? I don't have, I'm helping. Okay, Brad, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. I'm glad to be on. And yes, I'll be there, but I'll just kind of be wandering around, helping out. I'm volunteering and, just pretty much just hanging out with a whole bunch of friends. So,
well, you have forced my hand to actually record this and put it out before this weekend, which is when Books and Brews 2 is. So Books and Brews 2, just so I can say it up front, it's at the Wyndham in Noblesville, Indiana, August, is it 1st or 2nd? I say it wrong each time.
Second. I had to think about
what. We're going to go with the second.
Whatever Saturday is. I know all I know is I fly on Thursday and I fly back on Sunday. So
there you go. So you're going to be volunteering there, hanging out with a bunch of horror authors, people that you are friends with, I am sure. So let's talk about you. We don't need to talk about them. They've had enough publicity.
Oh, I agree.
This is about you. So you're a horror author.
Yes.
I know you've got a new book coming out. You've got The Night Crew coming out.
Night Crew came out in February.
Oh, it did? On my notes,
it came out in February.
What's the one coming out?
So The Night Crew 2 comes out in November.
Okay, so this is what happens when you don't read thoroughly and you go, oh, The Night Crew. I thought The Night Crew was out because I've seen it pop up on my stuff, but then it said coming out, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see the 2. So there you go. It gives you time, everybody, to get The Night Crew, read through it, and then you can get The Night Crew 2.
Yes.
And when does that come out?
November.
Excellent. So you've got plenty of time to read it and get all excited about it. So, Brad, I'm gonna ask you all sorts of questions. First of all, why don't you start? Let's make it easy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so my name's Brad. I am 46 years old. I'll be 47 in a little less than a month. And I live down here in Central Texas where it's nice and toasty and humid as hell. And
right.
I've been doing writing of some sort. So some kind of creative outlet really since I was a kid. I used to write short stories and that kind of thing. Got into doing music and songwriting when I was in college. And then during COVID, I was kind of in between jobs, and I was like, I think I'll give novel writing a try. And mainly it was kind of a exercise in discipline to see if did I have the discipline to actually sit down and write a full novel, and did it. And as I did, kind of the creative juices just kind of, all picked back up and started flowing, and thus more novels, came from that.
So I can see you've got a what. Are all of these novels To Hell with Hallmark, Fear Not the Dead, and The Night Crew? Those are all novels, they're not short story collections,
yes,
correct?
Correct. Yep. Well, so To Hell with Hallmark is a short story collection that I did. It's all, it's 11 different short stories that all take place in one town. So the stories kind of interlace. So it kind of reads like a novel, but they're all individual stories.
Oh, I love that. So why is it called To Hell with Hallmark?
So it's Christmas horror, and it all takes place in the town of Hallmark.
I love it. Very good.
And it is the perfect, most beautiful little Christmas town, Hallmark Christmas town that really has ever hallmarked. And every story kind of sets up as one of those like cheesy Hallmark Christmas movies.
Sure.
And then I kind of give it the ending that we all really wish that they had.
It reminds me of Hard Eyes. I was watching that with my daughter, and the whole time I'm like, this is a Hallmark movie. And then there's a lot of blood and meat and that. And I'm like, yeah, this is the Hallmark movie I want to watch. So, okay, To Hell with Hallmark. And then Fear Not the Dead. I love the cover on this one. Like, it makes me want to follow her into whatever hell we're going into. Let's hear about that one.
So Fear Not the Dead was actually my debut. It had its year birthday a couple weeks ago. It's more of a psychological thriller. It has some of that kind of cat and mouse thriller aspect to it, but it's set in a haunted house. So it has a lot of horror elements, although it reads very much more like a thriller.
That sounds fantastic. And then The Night Crew. Now, this is a series that you're doing.
The Night Crew it's the book one of a series. And with this one, it's monster hunters. And the first one deals around vampires. I'm a huge vampire fan, and these vampires, as I like to say, they don't sparkle. These are more the 30 Days of Night, Lost Boys, that kind of like throwback kind of vampires are killers, and that's what they do.
Sure. So, okay, I'm going to ask flat out. Before I get to that flat out question, I'm going to ask you about Night Crew 2. Are you going to follow throughout the series? Are you going to kind of hunt different types, kind of like the Night Stalker?
Kind of, yes. So this is, I've described the series as Blade meets the Supernatural TV series.
You cannot go wrong with that. That sounds awesome.
No, it is very much so. It is that horror action, it kind of threads the needle, kind of like how Blade does, where you're watching and you're like, yeah, this can be scary, but at the same time, this is an action movie. And so I definitely kind of thread the needle a little bit on it. There are some scenes that get scary, but there's also some times when, everybody's, they kind of weapon up and let's go fight. And so it has, that good little mix of both. And there is an overarching, there's a story arc throughout the series. And so, but each one is kind of it kind of gets a little mission based outside of the overarching story arc.
So, can you spoil what's the next monster we're going to encounter?
No, I don't want to spoil.
Don't spoil. Okay. Hey, that's why I asked. You want to spoil? I love the idea, though. That's one of my favorite kind of series where you've got kind of I don't want to call it Monster of the Week, but where they're encountering the different things and they've got to solve the problem. And I'm sure there's ethical issues throughout. And some fall in love with the Mothman and some want to kill the Mothman. I love that very much. Now, for that series, do you see, is it like a finite series? Like this is going to be a trilogy, or this goes on, this is my Dark Tower that maybe doesn't end?
No. So, I was about to answer that one way, but now I'm going, column A, column B. So,
well, right.
No. So I'm looking at this. So this iteration of it as about a 7-book series is kind of what I kind of have mapped out. And I always say this iteration, I'm almost looking at it as almost like a TV show where you can, like, this is almost season one, and then once this story arc is done, then we could maybe follow the team into a different story arc of things, and where that's kind of like season two, really, so that you could almost read the first series and be like, okay, great, that's a good story. If you pick it up in the second, you're not like, no, I have to go back and read a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right. You're in this finite universe of these books, but they are tied to the other part
correct
of the series. I love it.
Yeah. So then you're not, it's not like if you pick it up and you're like, well, now I'm married to reading 28 stupid books, or something like that. It's like, no, I really like the second season of the series. And so I'm going to read these 5 books compared to the first 5 or 6 or whatever it comes out to be books.
Yeah. It's like the Terry Pratchett books. I was talking to somebody recently about that, where they're like, what's the starting point? It's like, whatever you want it to be. You can read the Guard series, you can read the Witches series, you can read the basic. It doesn't really matter. Right. He's got all these finite series within his Discworld, and it works. Right.
Well, Rick Riordan kind of did the same thing with his like the Percy Jackson books, because there's the initial, the original, like, and the Olympians, and then
there's like 5 books in that.
And then there's another series that he did, which is kind of a continuation, but it's a different. I think they're going after the Titans or something, is what was in the second series, if I recall. But you don't have to necessarily read the first ones to be able to pick up and carry along. You just miss a little backstory, but you're not missing out on a whole bunch.
Isn't it fun though when you get one of those? Let's say you start in that second season, and you really like it. And you're like, oh, you know what? There's an earlier season. I know these guys are alive because I know them in book 2, but let's go read them. And you find out things, that backstory stuff that you go, oh, it just changed everything. And then you want to reread that second series. I love that.
Yes. So yes, if you happen to pick up, even in a normal series, you pick up, book 2 or 3 first, and you're like, oh, well, I see they're still alive, but I got to go back and read the first one. I mean, when you walk into a superhero movie, you know that at the end, more than most likely, the superhero is going to live at the end. So it's like you already kind of know the ending, but it's how you get from point A to point B. It's still, very entertaining.
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting if everybody died at the end of the superhero movie and you're like, wait, but Superman, what? What inspired you to start writing? I know you said the COVID thing kind of got you, but what got you in the beginning where you were like, hey, I'm nerd kid A and I'm going to be a writer?
I've always just kind of had that little creative spark. Always liked storytelling. I was, I was a big reader when I was a kid. And I actually kind of got started on more the Edgar Allan Poe side of things. I know a lot of people are, I didn't really read the Goosebumps. And I got into Stephen King when I was in about 8th grade or so. But before then, like, I read all of Edgar Allan Poe. I loved really how much he could do in a short amount in just a short span. I mean, in the midst of a short story, you are completely immersed in the world that he sets up. I mean, he makes the world itself is almost like a character, or that your whole environment and the setting. And so I just kind of fell in love with that, and I was like, ooh, I want to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What is your, and this is a BS question, I'm going to tell you right now, but as of right now, what would you say is like the touchstone Poe story for you?
You mean like one that like the
like kind of kick? Yeah, you're sitting here talking about it, and you're like, this is the one everybody needs to read immediately to understand why I love Poe so much.
Oh, probably the Fall of the House of Usher was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. Did you like the Netflix show?
I did like the Netflix show, and I liked it because of how they kind of intermingle so many of the different stories throughout. I mean, you still have where it's it's definitely that House of Usher kind of encapsulation, but then you had like the Mask of Red Death, and you have Murders of the Rue Morgue, and you had like all these that popped up along the way.
Yeah.
And with each one. And so I had a blast watching that show, that series, because as I was watching it, like I had my Edgar Allan Poe, like the complete works next to me, and I was like, oh my god, it's like Red Depth, and I was like, it's like, I'm such a nerd.
Oh, you are, but that's all right, man. I think everybody listening here is a nerd as well, including the host. Terrible nerd. In fact, I was a Poe kid also. That was my introduction into horror reading. I think it was like 7th grade. I got like a complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. And, you know, it was like immediately, for me, it was the probably the most basic. It was the Telltale Heart. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. It was like, wait, this is what it's like? And that was the entry point. So for you.
So with House of Usher, so one thing I liked about it is that, like, the main character, the one who's kind of, you know, the person who shows up, like, you don't know the person's name. And so immediately you are that person.
Right.
Because it's not a named narrator. It's just you're the narrator, you know. Yeah. And then like I said, the house itself is a character in the story. And, you know, amongst just the members of the house, but, you know, just it is also a character in the story, like I said. Yeah. And it's so immersive in what it does.
So was it always horror? I mean, you're talking about Poe as an entry point, but when you were a budding writer or dreaming of it, was it like, I'm writing horror, or just wanted to be a writer?
No, it's always kind of been horror. I've always kind of lent more that direction. I mean, when I read kind of a wide swath of things. I do. I love the classics. Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorite books. A Tale of Two Cities. Les Miserables. So, you know, those are some of my favorites, as well as, you know, that are not in the horror genre. But and so I've always been a kind of wide range of reading. But when it comes to what I write and kind of how I won't say how I see the world, because that makes me sound all demented. But
you said it, I didn't.
But you know, there's always that kind of dark overtone, or, you know, that kind of twist, you know, to things. And I think, to me, horror just kind of has that. It elicits more of an emotion, more of a kind of a raw, almost visceral emotion, compared to a lot of the other genres. Probably the only one that comes close, which you can almost see it as polar opposite, would be if you're writing comedy. And, you know, so those two kind of get very real emotions out of, you know, at least to me. I'm not a big romance fan and that kind of stuff, but kind of comedy and horror kind of gives you those where it's just kind of from the gut kind of reactions of things.
Yeah, I think there's a thin line between comedy and horror, and I think that's why somebody like Jordan Peele does it so beautifully. I mean, he's hilarious and he knows how to write comedy, and then you see his horror and you're like, oh.
Yeah, then you watch Get Out and you're,
yeah, he gets it. Yeah. And, you know, it's funny, I was talking to RJ Joseph, whose interview is appearing this week as well. And Rhonda started as a romance writer, but she wanted to write horror. And in that conversation, we talked about how, once again, there's kind of a thin line. Like, the best horror has elements of the romance in it, you know, because you get that emotion, you get that depth. But to read a flat out romance novel, I'm not quite as interested as I am, you know, in every other horror novel I've ever read. You know? So who do you think are the three? This is a crap question too. I'm going to warn you, a lot of crap questions in this podcast.
A lot of crap questions. Okay.
Who would you say are your, if you had to recommend the top 3 horror writers right now, who are you going to spit out right now?
Oh, right now. It's all top of my head.
Top of your head right now.
So a couple that I love. So Ronald Malfi has some great stuff. So I really like a lot of Malfi's work. And then Josh Mallerman, his Incidents Around the House was just wonderful. Plus
terrifying. Let's just go with terrifying. I just finished it. Yeah. Wow.
So that's, I mean, he's definitely up there. And then I guess kind of more from the indie space of things. I mean, I don't want to say, There's one name I don't want to say, but everybody says his name.
Say it. I mean, it's like everybody ends up saying King on here. And I'm like, go ahead and say King. What does it matter?
Well, no, I was like from the indies, just from the indie
from the
space.
indie
So I
side.
didn't. So the indie side, like I mean, Nick Roberts is doing some great stuff.
Oh.
John Durgan has some good stuff out there. Andrew Nyberg, and Blaine Daigle, all of them have some. There's a whole world on the indie side, and almost on the indie side, it's real hard to kind of pinpoint because everybody's writing is so different, and there's so many different little subgenres that everybody kind of works in, and so it kind of becomes real hard to pinpoint and say, oh yeah, this person right here is. And
right. I know. I told you that's a crap question.
It's like you got to tee those questions up in advance.
Right? No way. I like the realism. So okay, so you are going to Books and Brews too. You said you're going to see a bunch of friends there. Mm-hmm. Is there anybody you're excited to meet that you haven't met yet?
Duncan Ralston.
Yeah.
So I've been to a couple events so far. I mean, being kind of newish to the scene, like I said, my debut came out a year ago. I've been to a couple events this year, and he had none of the ones I've been to so far he's been at, and so and I've chatted with him online a few times, and so I'm looking forward to meeting him.
Yeah. I was at it last year. I was at Books and Brews last year, and he was one of them, unfortunately, that I didn't get to interview yet. Boy, everybody loves him, and he was one of the names everyone's like, you got to read his books. They're just fantastic. So that's a good call. Yeah. Is this now you're in Texas? Is this going to be your first time in like Indiana?
No, I've traveled all over the country. And so I've either between work or just, I like to travel. And so I've been to Indiana. I've been in Indianapolis before. And so there's only one state I haven't been to, and next year I actually will be to it, and I'll hit all 50. So Alaska is my only one that I haven't hit, and next year my wife and I and the family are taking an Alaskan cruise, and so I'm like, check, number 50 done. So, but yeah, no. So I've been to Indiana, and Indianapolis before, but I'm looking forward to going back, mainly because I saw the weather, and it's a lot prettier than it is in Texas.
I don't know. It was 107 here in Chicago this week. It was like all of a sudden ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was cooler in Texas. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. We've been steadily mid 90s and just some crap humidity. We've got like a ton of rain this year, which is unusual for us. Usually by the time it starts getting this hot, all the humidity has burned off, but it hasn't. And I usually I enjoy going for a run, usually in the middle of the day, usually my lunch break. And I'll get out there and I'll run, and I'm like, a half mile in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. like this is miserable. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm drowning with every breath.
Oh. So when you go to Alaska, are you going to make the family sit down and watch 30 Days a Night before you go? So you're like, everybody get prepped.
I haven't thought of that, but holy crap, I am now.
Yeah, see? It's funny because when we travel, like we went to Paris this year, that's what I do the whole time. You sit there on the plane, I watch horror movies the whole time. And I just think, oh my God, what people around me must be thinking, because I picked some of the worst things. I watched one from the 80s that I had never seen. Have you ever seen, I think it's not Happy Birthday to Me. Maybe it's April Fool's Day. Do you remember that one?
It's been a long time, but yes, I've seen that one.
Holy crap, that's not appropriate for a plane. And that is one bad movie. It's one bad movie that I watched, and I was like, you know what, I'll probably have to buy it on DVD because it was so bad. I enjoyed it.
There's been a couple times like I've downloaded some movies to my iPad, and I'm sitting there watching it, and it gets to a scene and I'm like turning away from it.
don't let the kids see. Don't let the wife see. Don't let
right. Yeah, I'm gonna turn that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and you can always say horror writer. Just do that, and they'll be like, "Oh, we get it."
I'm just doing research.
Right. Okay. Here's a question. I love asking this question. This is not a crap question. Is there anything in your Google search you've had to search that you really don't want the authorities to find out, or you would be embarrassed if it came up in court?
No, I mean, not too terrible.
I mean, related to writing. Let's not get too wild here, Brad.
So there is a scene in Fear Not the Dead where one of the main bad guy, she or bad girl, she stabs this one person in the kidneys or in the the liver area. And I had to go. I was googling. I was like, okay, if you get how long does it take to bleed out if you get stabbed in the And so it was stuff like that. And of course, there's the usual, how long does it take to dissolve a body and those kind of things. I actually, somebody asked this question of me the other day. I was at the Texas Author and Reader Con, and kind of got the same kind of question about Google, and I made the joke then that yes, I have to look up how long does it take to dissolve a body because I should not know that answer off the top of my head.
True. That would actually be more concerning than your Google search if you were just like, well, of course it's.
Well, I mean, of course, it depends. I mean, if the body's this much, you have to have this much lie, and then you're going to have to. It's like if you just know that information on the top of your head, warning.
Yeah, right. You now have to wear a red flag on your shirt at all times.
Right.
So in the horror genre, and I know that it encompasses quite a bit, and I mean, like you said, even in the indie world, there's so many little pockets. But what's the pocket you love the most that you're like, this is my space?
I'm definitely that. Like, I enjoy the creature feature stuff. I mean, like I said, with the Night Crew being something like creature feature stuff. That's really what I enjoy. Back when like I said, when I was growing up, like the X-Files was doing stuff like they were doing a lot of creature of the week stuff.
Yeah, they did the monster of the week stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I remember back when Sci-Fi Channel did their sci-fi original movies that were just really cheesy B monster movies, and so all that kind of, so I enjoy the that kind of creature of the week kind of stuff, and give me a nice good horribly disturbed monster, and I'm good with it.
Is there a creature feature creature or movie that has, or book that has stuck with you? You're like, it never leaves, it's never too far? Because like Incidents Around the House is for some reason living in my brain right now, and it will not leave. Is there any like creature monster of the week that won't leave you?
No, I mean, outside of it was always a great, especially I remember the old, the original Tim Curry, was that ABC miniseries when they did it, and I remember that one. It was it was good because kind of how they broke it up into the two different parts, which they kind of mirrored when they did the remake. But I like the Tim Curry version better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's probably more of a nostalgia thing. I mean, sure. I'm sure if I went back and watched it, I'll be like, okay, this isn't as good as I thought it was. But
it actually is a lot of fun. I went back and watched it, and I was like, it's great. I loved it. That book was the one that when I brought it into the house, it had the Pennywise on the cover,
mm-hmm.
and the Tim Curry Pennywise, and my wife made me put electrical tape over the clown face.
I think I had that same one with that same cover on it.
Yeah, she couldn't take it. It would sit around the house, and she's like, nope, electrical tape over the face. Yeah, it happens, Tim Curry. Sorry, you got that kind of mojo.
Mm-hmm.
So do you find clowns creepy?
A little bit, but not, not any more than, as creepy as they should be.
I was wondering if book 2 is going to have a clown in a cornfield or anything like that.
No clown in the cornfield. But I mean, my generation, I mean, I'm Gen Xer, so we were kind of, clowns got a terrible bad rap when we were growing up, from between it and then you had like John Wayne Gacy, and then you have killer clowns from outer space. Yep. And so there's just a whole bunch of just
weird clowns
the whole time.
I'm Gen X too, and in fact, Gacy was not terribly far from where I grew up. I mean, in fact, even closer to my wife. And in fact, I had a friend whose friend was killed by Gacy. And you want to hear the term he used when he first told us? He was like, "Oh yeah, my friend Joey." He had a voice like this. "My friend Joey was eaten by a clown." We're like, what's that mean? And then he told us they lived in the neighborhood. He said, yeah, they used to dance. They used to go and watch him dance in the front yard in his clown thing for the kids. And one day his friend disappeared. And you're like, oh, that is hitting it home. That's terrifying.
It's like this story took a turn.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And ironically, I became friends with a guy who's a professional clown who does not find any of this amusing whatsoever. But I can't help it. I do.
I was chatting with an author the other day because I also have a podcast, not to pitch my own stuff, but
I want to hear about your podcast. Tell me the story, and then let's hear about your podcast.
Okay. Well, and so that was on my podcast, I whatever author I'm interviewing, I make them tell me what kind of horror creature is their favorite, and his was clowns, and I was like, that's so interesting take on a horror creatures and being a clown, but and like he went all the way back to talking about some of the old Lon Chaney silent film stuff, and all the way back from that time and talking about it. So we were talking about clowns. Some of those horror authors, that's even our favorite creature.
Yeah,
clowns.
Actually, I just saw. I've never seen it. There's some silent film that popped up in one of the things because I watch all that stuff too, and it said it was the first. It was like an old silent film, and it was the first one where the killer was a clown. It wasn't necessarily meant to be killer clown, but people were terrified by the prospect, and it was the very first time somebody had it was just supposed to be like a thriller, and the killer happens to be a clown, and people are like, nope, there's something so much worse about this. So I wish I could tell you what it is, but I have not had enough coffee yet today to make that happen. So, okay, let's talk about your podcast a little bit. Tell me the name of your podcast. Tell people about it. What's the deal?
So the podcast, it's called the Night Crew Podcast. So it's based off of my book series, The Night Crew, of course. And in it, since the Night Crew itself is all about monster hunting and all that, I decided to make a podcast where we kind of do deep dives into creatures and creature features. Right now, I'm doing a series on vampires because there's a whole lot to talk about when it comes to vampires.
There's a lot,
and so like the first, initially I was like, well, I'll do it like twice a month. And then I started, I guess, kind of like when I started writing novels, and then suddenly I had a whole bunch of ideas for novels. Well, I started making podcast episodes, and suddenly I had a whole bunch of ideas for podcast episodes. And then I was like, well, I'll mix in some author interviews as well, just to kind of help extend out some content. And that way people don't have to just listen to me talk all the time, because I'm not that exciting. And so I was like, well, I'll do some author interviews. And then I got a whole bunch of requests for author interviews, and a whole bunch of people like, hey, I want to. So now I'm doing it every Monday. I have an episode coming out. I had one today is Monday as we're recording it. So I had one come out today. And but like I said, it's doing deep dives onto horror creatures. Those things that go bump in the night. And on my author interviews, more it's kind of like what you're doing here, where we're just kind of chit-chatting about stuff. And then I also make the author tell me what their favorite horror creature is, and if it's something off the wall, some Indian tribe in the middle of so and so that really worship this random deity or whatever, then I'm going to make you tell me a lot more about it. And then if you just say Bigfoot, and then which we do know about. So
yeah, but do you get into interdimensional Bigfoot? See, now we're getting deeper into what scares you. How about puck wedgies? You ever talk about puck wedgies? I love that too. So many weird things. I love it.
So that was there are monsters galore out there, and so that's why I was like, I can talk about monsters forever. Like I said, my favorite stuff is that creature of the week kind of stuff. And just with vampires alone, I started off, like, my first episode was just just a general overview of what the heck is a vampire. And then my second episode, I was like, I'm just going to do a deep dive on Dracula. And I talk about Vlad the Impaler, talk about the book, I talk about Bram Stoker, and kind of the effects of, what all that has inspired. And then this week's episode, which now kind of starts my weekly, I'm doing an interview with Joe Scipione, who he's actually going to be at Books and Brews as well. He's the one who wrote the Mr. Nightmare series.
Yeah.
So him and I had a conversation. So that dropped today. But I have other episodes coming out talking about like next week's is all about vampire killing. And it's actually, I actually went global with it because depending upon where in the globe you are, the vampires are different and how you kill them are different. And so I did a lot of research. I think it was like 20 something countries. I just kind of grouped them by continent and started bouncing around. And
you're doing the homework.
I did. Yeah. Did a little homework. Yeah. And I have a handful of books. I would point to them on my shelf where they are, but right now they're sitting over by my desk because I have a whole stack of books and just nothing but vampire stuff. So
very cool.
Yeah. So that's the podcast I just started is doing that. Like I said, and then mixing in author interviews as well. And so that way I can, again, you don't have to just listen to me ramble on for 20 or 30 minutes, every Monday. I said, I'm not that exciting. I can be humorous when I want to, but.
Well, I found you to be absolutely fantastic to talk to. There's a book I'm going to recommend if you haven't read it. It's called Piercing the Darkness, Undercover the Vampires in America Today. Have you read this book?
I have not read this book.
It's by Catherine Ramsland. It was recommended to me by one of our podcasters a while ago. She was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this book. You got to read it. I get it. I am obsessed with it too. Don't go looking for the mass market paperback. It's almost $800 on Amazon right now, but you can find it. I just saw it and I should have picked it up. I saw the mass market paperback at Savers, like a resale shop, for $3 the other day, and I didn't buy it because I didn't know it was worth so much. But she is a journalist who was trying to write about the idea of vampires being real in America, and started going to parties where people say they're vampires and all that. And then it gets really weird. And it's all true crime type stuff. It's wild.
So just the other day, I recorded an episode it's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. That's all about, so my wife and I took a trip to New Orleans with the kids. And New Orleans has a rich history when it comes to vampires. Lore.
Yeah, right.
And so I picked up a couple of the books that were there. The lady who runs Boutique du Vampire, which is down on the French Quarter there. It's the little vampire boutique shop. She wrote a book that kind of, does real good deep dives into the stuff in New Orleans. And so as I started doing some research on that, talking about, I knew some of the stuff on like the Casket Girls and Jacques Saint Germain and all that. But then I started learning about, there's what's called NOVA, the New Orleans Vampire Association. And it is a real organization in New Orleans that's all about vampires, and they identify as vampires, and
like it's a religion. Like they're really,
they dress the part, and they do the sleeping in coffins thing. There's two different kinds. There's there's one of them called the Sanguinarians, which they actually do drink blood and that kind of stuff. I make a note in the pocket like consensual adults. But then they have those that are like psychic vampires, and that believe they're psychic vampires. And so, but yeah, it's all in. Like I said, that's the New Orleans Vampire Association, NOVA.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to put links in the show notes for people to be able to buy your books and all that. I know you can't bring books to Books and Brews because you're not showing, but they can meet you and they can shake your hand.
They can meet me.
Business card.
And if they happen to have one of my books and want to bring it, I can definitely sign it. So
yeah, just can't buy it there at Books and Brews. That's okay. That's okay.
That's okay. Then usually what I can do is, I can hand you out my business card. If you order off my website, I can definitely do some free shipping.
There you go.
Then it was like you were there. So
that's right. That's right.
I
I am encouraging everybody to do this. I mean, I think you're fantastic. I had a lovely time talking to you. I think everybody should have your entire catalog. So there you go.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And we got to lead into this next book because I want to know what they're fighting in the next book. And I am definitely going to invite you back on to talk Monster of the Week. I have another show that we'll have to have you on because I think we'll have a lot of fun on there, doing a little bit of a deep dive. And if you ever want to talk about like South American monsters and lore, I have a guest for you who's very knowledgeable. Yes. So
Nice.
There you go. This was really a lot of fun. Brad Ricks, you can find him. I'll put links in the show notes where you can find him. What's the best place for people to interact with you, Brad?
So probably Facebook. I'm usually on it every day. I do a little bit of TikTok. I'm not as good at TikTok as my kids are. I do enough on there to know I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok. So mainly Facebook is what I do.
Great. And it's Brad Ricks Author is what they find you at.
Yes. Yeah. Brad Ricks Author will take you to my author page. If you happen to see my personal page and you friend me there as well, then I don't care. That's fine as well. Just know if you do that, occasionally you're going to see my vacation photos. So, hey, there you go.
Well, vacation photos or review with vampires in New Orleans, it might be really interesting. So you with a whole bunch of bloody people because it's 30 days a night up in Alaska, that might be really interesting. Who knows?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So Night Crew 2 is going to be coming out in November. You definitely want to
November.
Before you pick that up, get one and get into it because you're going to be all excited to keep reading the series then. Brad, thank you so much for being on, and good luck with all this. I will invite you on other shows in the future because I think we have a lot to talk about.
Looking forward to it. I appreciate it.